I am Deanna Robinson. I'm a housing planner here at EasyCog, and I administer the East Central Iowa or ECI Housing Trust Fund as well. The East Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund serves the counties of Benton, Iowa, Jones, and Washington counties. Today, we're going to walk through a brief overview of the housing trust funds in Iowa and talk about some of the potential projects that you can plan in partnership with the ECI Housing Trust Fund and with EasyCog. First, just a quick reminder of our next Turbo Talk on April 7th. Some folks from the Iowa Public Agency Investment Trust will be online to talk and share information about their cash flow management program and talk about how you can boost your interest revenue. Sounds interesting. Today, we're going to first, I'll give you a brief overview of the State Housing Trust Fund, and then more specifically, we'll talk about the local housing trust funds, where they're located, our funding mechanisms, how IFA conducts compliance and oversight, how the funding can be used, and then I'll show you some really great pictures of some projects that we've completed. In 2003, the Iowa legislature established the state housing trust funds in response specifically to the rural housing crisis, where the problem was not just affordability, but also housing quality and livability due to the aging housing stock here in Iowa. The majority of homes in the rural areas were built before the 1940s. Also in response to the shrinking federal housing resources, and the recognition that housing shortages are an economic development issue, their goal was to create a permanent and key here local and flexible funding source to support affordable housing development and preservation for low-income households statewide. Housing trust funds are city-based, county-based, as well as regional. Fortunately, the Iowa legislators did not create a fixed region system, but rather allowed systems to be created from the bottom up rather than the top down. This allowed for greater local control and fostered collaboration. Each of the housing trust funds is unique. Each has different priorities for funding. They each have different funding models. Some may only award grants. Some may award grants and loans or a hybrid. They all specialize in different activities. Some will do mostly new construction. Some housing trust funds have a lot of housing or homelessness programs. They're all different. If you have a project in mind in Johnson County, you'll want to contact Ellen McCabe. If you have a project in mind in Lynn County, you'll want to contact Sarah Buck, the executive director. They can help you get your projects off the ground in those counties. If you have something in mind in Benton, Jones, Iowa, or Washington, that would be me. I would be your contact person for the East Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund. Our board includes both a county supervisor and an economic development professional from each of the counties we cover, providing, I believe, a very balanced leadership and diverse expertise for the board. We enjoy a dedicated revenue source. Each time there's a real estate transaction in your county, the county retains 17% of those funds. 82% of those funds are forwarded to the state. The state then appropriates 30% of that to the to the housing trust funds. That's currently capped at $7 million each year. Housing advocates are lobbying legislatures to remove that cap. It will generate modestly an extra $2 million a year for the housing trust funds, but in a really brisk real estate market, it could mean an extra $20 million each year for housing trust funds. In the current atmosphere, this is not likely to happen, but I think it's really good to keep that conversation moving. So if you hear of anybody lobbying to have that cap removed, please join in. Funds are administered through Iowa Finance Authority. The fiscal year 26 State Housing Trust Fund budget allotted $12.6 million to the local housing trust funds, and then $300,000 is set aside for project-based housing programs. This means if you were to contact one of the housing trust funds, for instance, ECI, and you had a project that was requiring $75,000 money from the Housing Trust Fund for each unit that would exceed our per unit cap. So we would issue a letter to you and say, we support this project. It's a great project, but it just doesn't fit our housing assistance plan. You could then use that letter to directly apply to Iowa Finance Authority for that project-based housing program. They accept applications there on a rolling basis. Each housing trust fund is eligible to receive a base allocation of $200,000 each year plus a population share. Now, this ensures that the small rural regions actually receive more funding per capita than the larger metro regions, which I know is very important to some people. So housing trust funds are really a critical resource for the rural counties. I did the math, I put this to test, and this year for the funding, the East Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund received about $5 per person in our region. And in Johnson County and in Lynn County, they received $2.78 and $3 per person. So that funding allocation works. This year, we were eligible to apply for $440,000. We do have a local match requirement of 25%. So we had to secure $110,000 to apply for the grant of $440,000. IFA says in many regions, for every $1 of state housing trust fund dollars, an additional $3 to $6 are leveraged in housing investments. For compliance and oversight, again, we do apply to funds each year to IFA. We submit a housing assistance plan, which defines our priorities. Funding is provided on a reimbursement basis. This is very important to keep in mind as you plan your projects. We then undergo biannual monitoring of project files, where IFA ensures that 30% of all of our funds are dedicated to households earning less than 30% of area median income, and 70% of our funds are dedicated to households earning less than 80% of area median income. These are some projects that are eligible through all of the housing trust funds. Obviously, new construction. We have homeless assistance programs. We can fund acquisition and or rehab of an existing property, owner occupied or rental rehab. Some of our rehab projects are targeted. We have some that only address accessibility issues for seniors or persons with disabilities. And we also have some emergency repair programs, which I'll give some details on shortly. Now I want to show you some projects that we've completed in the last couple of years. The first, we just recently awarded the Community Housing Initiative an $84,000 loan. That is a 15-year term at 1%, very generous. The property here is not that old in relation to the other rental properties in our region. It's about 20 or 25 years old, but they are combining this loan with LIHTC and workforce tax credits to completely revamp and update the facility. They'll be replacing all the major HVAC systems, installing energy efficient appliances in all the units, updating the bathrooms to ADA compliant facilities. These Community Housing Initiative properties are great, so we're really glad to be involved in that in Washington. If I didn't mention that yet, this is in the city of Washington. We've also worked with Victor Senior Housing. We awarded them a $133,000 grant in combination with a $25,000 loan. Most of the senior housing projects in our region have a waiting list. This one did not when we started. The units were pretty run down, not very attractive, so they really needed that rehab work to make them a more viable option there. These are two projects in Jones County. These projects, these apartment complexes are both senior housing. They're managed by USDA. Funds are really tight, so they do really well at maintaining, the small issues. But when they needed a new roof, they really need grant funding to come through to help them with that. The Wyoming Senior Housing project was already completed. There's an aluminum roof there. There are 12 units there, I think, in 4 separate buildings. Monticello is a traditional asphalt shingle roof. the other wasn't appropriate for such a large building. There are 24 units there in one large building. And that one, I hope, is underway or will be underway very shortly. We've also done several projects in Anderson Creek Estates. Recently, in a collaboration with 3DB, they developed the sites there in Vinton. And then in a partnership with Homes for Iowa, had those homes. If you're not familiar with Homes for Iowa, those are stick-built homes in Newton. They're built by through a correctional facility. So the inmates are trained with the skills to build the homes. They are then brought into the community and set on permanent foundations. The base price for these is very good for a small community. It's $110,000. The price will go up though, depending on the cost to secure the lot, the foundation, and then whether or not you build a basement or a garage can add to that price considerably. But we were able to fund down payment assistance for 4 homeowners. They each received a little over $30,000. This is a really exciting project. I love the student build projects. The city of Kelowna has done 3. We weren't involved with the first. This is the second one they did. These are big collaborations. It starts with the local school district. In this case, they secured funding to pay for the instructor during the summer months. They then use labor from students over the summer months to rehab these homes that are ready to start construction by the time school gets out. Most of the site prep having already been done before that. They then work with the local home builders association and local businesses. They receive quite a few in-kind donations of materials and labor to finish these projects. And with this one in particular, one student who participated, I know, was offered a full-time position with one of the construction companies who worked on the project post-graduation. I think that's fabulous. This is their most current project. I apologize that I don't have a completed picture. I should, because it's done. It's for sale now. We have an application pending. I think one of the units will soon be occupied. But if you know of anyone looking for a great house in Kelowna, we do have $25,000 in down payment assistance available for this. Both of these projects in Kelowna, the goal was to keep the purchase price at $185,000. We know that's kind of the sweet spot where we need to keep the home so that it is affordable to the homeowner. And with this second project, because of the rise in costs, they weren't quite able to get that purchase price at $185,000 without also some assistance with the construction. So we did also award $15,000 to each of those units in construction, in addition to the down payment assistance. Another opportunity we have to impact housing availability in our region is to leverage Housing Trust Fund dollars as local match for other grants. This year, we utilized $20,000 in ECI funds to secure a home grant, which a little over $200,000. This is going to provide down payment and closing cost assistance to potentially 5 homeowners in our region, so all 4 counties. There are also similar programs that ECOG is administering for homeowners through the Housing Fund for Lynn County as well as Johnson County. This year, we also used $100,000 of the Housing Fund Trust match in a partnership with ECOG, who wrote the grant for a HUD lead hazard reduction grant. I am also really excited about this project because there will be lead abatement training and certification provided for an estimated 10 contractors and 30 workers in our area. This will be a long project and lasting until potentially 2029. We hope 90 households in the region will be assisted through this grant. It's very important. As you can see there, research has shown that 1 in 5 Iowa newborns have elevated blood levels at birth, and 76% of Iowa children under the age of 6 had detectable lead in their blood in a study that was conducted between 2018 and 2020, and that's the 4th highest rate in the nation. So with our aging housing stock, we have a huge need in the region for the lead hazard reduction grant. Rehab programs are a really powerful tool for neighborhood stabilization, stabilization, especially where older housing stock needs some investment. Developers are looking for communities where the population can afford to purchase a home and valuations make development worthwhile. So that means you need sufficient household incomes as well as housing market values that are not undervalued. If your housing market in your community is undervalued, before you could start conversations with developers, you should definitely consider having a rehab program. One program that we participate with as often as we can is the Federal Home Loan Bank. We do an owner-occupied rehab program with $40,000 in Housing Trust Fund money. We're able to secure an additional 180 altogether for a fund of about $220,000. In 1 year, we will be able to assist 12 households with that. The average award is about $12,000. Excuse me again. 12,000 may not sound like much, but I'd like to show you some pictures of the difference these small amounts can make in your community. Here is a roof that we did in Wyoming. You can see the roof was in serious disrepair. This is a project in Luzerne, vinyl siding and new windows, made a huge difference there. This is a home in Williamsburg. You can see their really bad roof that was replaced, as well as some new windows. Here's one in Urbana. Again, new siding there made quite a difference. Here's an emergency repair project we did in Onslow. This is a case where the homeowner had been trying each year by year, piece by piece, as they could afford to replace their roof. Finally, they lost their battle and they had a serious issue with water coming in. So we were able to go in and help finish repair that roof for them. Frequently, rehab programs that we are targeted towards critical repairs will cover HVAC systems, frozen pipes, and plumbing issues. Here's another owner-occupied project in Crawfordsville with some new windows and siding there. So rehab can also be targeted to accessibility accommodations to age in place. This is especially important in communities without senior living apartments or assisted living facilities. And really, when you talk to them, most seniors want to age in place. They want to age where they have family and friends and other social supports in the community where they've lived their whole life. Providing some assistance to those who just need some adaptations to their house really makes a huge difference. We also get calls from families, not seniors, but someone is dealing with a health challenge. Maybe they're now wheelchair bound, so they need ramps. They might need doorways widened, new facilities in their restroom to be able to cope. And as we all know, with healthcare being the way it is, if you were facing health challenges, you definitely don't have money for home repairs. This is another emergency repair. I believe they lost an appliance in this. As you can tell, they're lucky that's all that they lost. And this is an example of when, your circumstances might change. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but this person needed an ADA toilet, a higher toilet, and you can see their best option was to put a 2x4 into the toilet, and I hope bolt it down. Not the best circumstances there, so we were able to install an ADA toilet with the needed grab bars there for safety. This is another project where the homeowner had a need for a ramp to be able to access that entryway, and as you can see, it also improved the appearance of the property quite a bit too. So benefits of housing rehab, obviously preserving the existing housing stock, it stabilizes neighborhoods, it supports aging in place, it strengthens the local economy. Most of all of these projects are usually bid by local businesses. It protects the city's property tax base, and it does not require new land development, which is a real issue here in Iowa. It also encourages additional private investment. Studies by the Rebuilding Together Association found that for every dollar in rehab project, they found that there was a $2.84 gain in health, safety, and cost savings for the homeowner. They also found that every dollar in rehab projects stimulates a $1.90 in local economic activity. And this data point I stole from Neighborhood Finance about a year ago. I use it every time I talk about a housing rehab. It's because it's great. They looked at the projects that they had done in Cedar Rapids from 2018 to 2023 and found that the assessed value increased $1.57 for every dollar of subsidy that they had used in home repairs and improvements in Cedar Rapids during that time. In many rural communities, the most effective way to begin addressing your housing challenges is truly by investing in the homes that already exist. There is also a tangible spillover effect. Home prices surrounding a rehabilitated property increase between 2.3 and 4%. The average rehab generates an aggregate home value gain for the neighboring residents that is 3.8 times greater than the amount invested. So that $12,000 in rehab, you can see with your own eyes the difference it made for that homeowner, but it's also raising that entire neighborhood up by about $45,000 in greater home value there. You've heard the expression, I hope, keeping up with the Joneses. We also see this kind of phenomenon in effect a lot too. I think sometimes it just gets to be too much for some homeowners to deal with the problems. It's too big, so they do nothing. Then they find out about the grant, and while we're there, maybe doing the siding, replacing some flooring in the kitchen, we will see them take on some new projects in the household as well, making improvements along with it. Suddenly inspired to maybe do some painting or some smaller things that they're able to handle around their home. We also see that same effect in the entire neighborhood, where we will go in one year to do a project for FHLB, and we go back the next year with the new FHLB grant, and the home down the street has applied, and we'll notice that there are other houses in between that have made some improvements to their house as well too. It really stimulates activity. So another cliche, no such thing as a dumb question. I don't think there's anything as a dumb idea. My favorite phrase is, I have an idea. Send me an email and say, I have an idea. It seems silly. Don't know how it can work. I love those. Challenge accepted. We may not be able to make it work right away. It may take some time to put the pieces together. But innovation is what we need. It wasn't very long ago that rental rehab was frowned upon. Now most of our projects we're doing are rental rehab. Upper story housing usually requires a CDBG grant. Those can be very restrictive. If you have a grant through the Housing Trust Fund, there aren't as many requirements for those projects. And a new thing that I think is just kind of made the scene is new construction targeted, single family new construction targeted for rent. I don't know everything about that, but I think there is some potential there too, especially in rural areas. So just lots of ideas to think about. So if you have an idea, please let me know. So I want to thank especially the Board of Supervisors in all 4 of our counties. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do, as well as all of our past and present partners. Again, without them, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're doing in the community. And for those of you who are out of the area and want slides, I've here towards the end, I've just tacked on that full map with each of the housing trust funds and the contact information for all of them too, so you can get in touch with any of them with projects that you might have in mind that are out of our region. So if there are any questions, if you want to put those in the chat box, my colleague Zach will let me know what they are and we can get them answered for you.
All right.
And if there aren't any.
There.
Oh, there are. Oh, good. Okay.
Well, more of a comment. Bailey said, wow, the ripple effect is amazing, beyond even the improvements to housing quality for islands.
Yes.
And then Noah asked if we are going to make this available in the near future to watch in full.
Yes, we will. Any others?
No, I think so, unless we have other questions.
No others? We're going to return a whole 5 minutes of your day back to you. I would be thrilled with that. Amazing what you can accomplish in 5 minutes. Or get a breather before you get back to work. Thank you, everybody who was here. I have my contact information is in the slides too. If you have any questions later, please send me an email. Thanks, everyone.